What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Matt's Mind, guys. This is the weekly series where you guys can ask me questions down below in the comments. If you want to be featured in next week's episode, all you have to do is drop a comment with your question down below, drop a like, make sure you guys subscribe. First question is from Lego Maestro. Do you have any siblings, and if so, do any of them like Lego? I only have one sibling, a younger sister, and no, she doesn't really like Lego. We both liked it when we were super young, but then as we grew older, like obviously I stepped away a little bit and came back to it later in my high school years. As far as I know, she's not really into it at all anymore. She was big into like Friends and all that kind of stuff, maybe some City, but as far as right now, currently not anymore. The Lego connoisseur is asking, what do you think of the new Mandalorian and Tusken Raider tent set leak for January wave 2021? Obviously, this is not officially confirmed, so let's just assume this is a rumor. If the rumors are true, I mean, it looks cool. It's a nice way. I think we're finally going to be getting a silver metallic Beskar armor Mandalorian, which is nice. Of course, I wanted to get him in the Razor Crest. He didn't come on the Razor Crest. He wouldn't have obviously had it in the ATST Raider. So it's nice to see such a small set that's going to have a pretty desirable figure. So overall, I'm pretty happy. I would love to see them do something with maybe a spoiler alert for episode 3 if you haven't seen it yet. Maybe something with the other Mandalorians, namely Bo-Katan and the other ones that the Mandalorian encounters on the planet where they raid the ship and all that kind of stuff. But as far as that rumor goes, it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty excited for it. It's going to be a nice alternative set with a cheaper price. It is going to be the first set that we have the Mando Beskar armor, which is nice, and of course it being such a low price is going to help out a lot of us for sure. MPM Brick Studios is asking, will you ever do a behind the scenes video on your live streams? I was thinking about that. To be honest, that's not nearly as intricate as some of you guys may think. I've been switching around my live stream setups. I don't know why. Like I used to be on the computer, which is back there somewhere. Now I'm on my laptop, like in the general indoor area. So it kind of changes every now and then. I feel like I'd want to wait to do a live stream behind the scenes until I have like a for sure setup, like that's not going to ever change. I would not mind doing maybe like a tips and tricks when you're live streaming video. I know a lot of you guys love to ask questions about how you live stream, what software you use, what camera do you use, you know, how you entertain for that long, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to see something like that behind the scenes with my live streams, let me know down below in the comments, and maybe just let me know by dropping a like. I mean, I'd love to do a video about that sometime sooner, just don't know exactly when, but it's something I've definitely put in the forefront of my brain for sure. CT137 is asking, what are your most prized possessions in your entire Lego collection? Surprisingly, not that much. I do have a sealed Darth Revan, I do have a sealed Chrome Stormtrooper, and then other than like some exclusives like the Bespin Duel and the Nebulon B and stuff like that, I don't think there's anything like super expensive in my collection. I still do have a sealed UCS Slave 1, which is kind of cool, but as far as that, I really don't have anything else that's like my prized possession. I mean, a lot of my collection is battle packs. I have a ton of the First Order transport ones, the Jedi clone, obviously the 501st. So like I have a decent amount of those, but as far as like one item that I guess the most exciting thing I have right now is the Osprey, the Technic Osprey, which I still haven't gotten around to building or if I'm even going to open that yet, but that's probably the most single expensive sealed set in my collection. Here's a great question. Toreo27 is asking, if you could choose one Clone Wars arc to turn into a line of sets, what would it be? It would absolutely have to be the Siege of Mandalore in season 7, season 8, whatever the last season is. Those 4 episodes are phenomenal. I think there's so many opportunities for new sets that we can get from them, and even maybe remaking some old sets like the gunship, the ATTE, bringing that back, introducing new Death Watch, and then of course like the Maul Grunt Mandalorians. I think there's just so many options that Lego could pursue with a wave that is dedicated, or maybe not even a wave, let's say 2 or 3 sets that is dedicated to that Siege of Mandalore wave. I would love to see something like that happen. I don't know if that ever will happen, but I will keep my fingers crossed for sure. Ruben is asking, do you regret choosing Lego YouTube over other types of content, and if so, why? Not really. As some of you may know, I started YouTube back when I was doing like gaming stuff, which was super cringy and super bad, so I'll never ever share that with you guys, unfortunately. But I'm happy with the outlet that I've chosen. I mean, I've always loved Lego, and then I've always, you know, and then I've slowly developed this sort of desire and passion to entertain and make videos. So I do not regret me going and diving into the YouTube sphere, especially because it's the YouTube community, when you look at it in terms of the gaming community and the beauty community, it's not as saturated. So I think there's a lot more opportunity if you're really good at what you do to thrive in the Lego community compared to the gaming community. But I'm super happy with where I am right now. I do not regret not choosing another path. So yeah. Faisal Lego Productions is asking, when will the Tantive 4 retire and will it go up in price? Well, absolutely, it will go up in price. I can almost 100% guarantee that. As far as when it will retire, I do not know. I've heard rumors it's going to be next year. If you think about it, it released at Star Wars Celebration in 2019. So it's going to be about 2 years coming up soon. So usually I think that's the lifespan of a UCS set. Obviously, I think there's 5 UCS sets out right now are 4 UCS sets, which is kind of crazy. I know they're retiring the Death Star soon, and then I heard a rumor that the Tantive might be going out at some point soon, so I don't know exactly. I would expect sometime relatively in the future, but it will definitely go up in price. Jaden Sports is asking, what trooper would you like to see in more Star Wars movies? I find it interesting that the First Order snowtroopers were in each of the sequel movies. I would like to have seen more of the Death Troopers or Final Order. I was going to say Death Troopers. I think Death Troopers are my favorite variant of the trooper from the Empire. Of course, we saw them most primarily in Rogue One. I don't think we saw them in any other movie, which is pretty disappointing. I feel like the Death Troopers are like the SEAL Team 6 or like the SAS, or, you know, the super operative of the Empire, and they're actually really interesting if you read about their history. They're like genetically enhanced, you know, there's some pretty cool comics about them too, and seeing how effective they were in Rogue One, I would have loved to see them do more stuff in other movies or maybe even in future shows. Of course, we saw some Death Troopers in the Mandalorian episodes in the later half of the first season, so we've seen a little bit of them. I would love to see a lot more of them, just because I'm like kind of a history military cool person nerd, so I'd love to see that sort of integrated with Star Wars storytelling at some point, but I think Death Troopers would probably be my answer. Cody's asking, what is an advice you would give to someone who hesitates between the Cantina of Mos Eisley or buy Lego pieces for a new Clone Wars mock? I think it ultimately depends on what are you gonna get more mileage out of. You know, for someone like me, if I were to buy the Mos Eisley, which I still want to buy it, I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. For me, the Mos Eisley is you build it once, you have all the cool figures, and you put it on display and probably never touch it again unless you're cleaning it. However, if it's for a mock, you know, you can get pieces for your mock and whatever you're making that can make you build and have, you know, content for the next few weeks. But the good thing about buying mock parts is after you deconstruct it, you still have those parts to continue on. So I think you have to decide what's more important to you, getting a display set, or even, I mean, if you're playing with the Mos Eisley set, that's pretty cool too. But what are you going to get more out of? But what are you going to get more out of your money is my number one suggestion. So are you going to get more money out of the Cantina for $350 or wherever it is, however it is priced where you live? Or are you going to get more mileage out of the money if you spend it on parts to use in mocks, use that going forward? So ultimately depends. I personally rather spend the money on mocks. I find more enjoyment in building mocks and making build series videos and live streaming Endor. So I would personally say mocks, but all depends on how important either the mock or the set are to you. Master G is asking, do you plan on collecting all Lord of the Rings sets someday? And can you rank these least favorite to favorite? Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter. Ooh, oh, and Hobbit. Okay. Least favorite, probably Pirates of the Caribbean, but not because it's bad, because Pirates of the Caribbean is pretty cool. If it goes worst to best, it would be Pirates of the Caribbean, Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. So Harry Potter is my top number one. But back to your question, will I collect all the sets? Probably not. I'd be spending so much money just trying to get the sets, like just paying super above retail, which I mean is to be expected. There's old sets. I don't want them that bad to the point where I'd be spending, you know, 2 or 3 times what they retailed for. Kind of like linking that to the last question, I'd rather spend that money on mocks and stuff to improve the channel and just go forward. So probably not. GN is asking, do you think that LEGO should begin dual molded trooper arms to make them look more accurate? Here's the thing, dual molded arms I really don't care about too much. I don't really think that having just 2 different colors is super important. I particularly am one for, you know, buying Firestar toys or custom printed arms, because I think that just gets more money's worth for those items. I don't really particularly care about dual molded arms. I know they're cool, and for those of you who don't have access to custom printed arms and buying them, they're a good alternative. I will say, however, if we start to see the rise in dual molded items, we've gotten dual molded legs, select dual molded arms, if we start to see them regularly in sets, I guarantee you the sets are going to go up in price even more than they already are now. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth including the dual molded elements to increase the price? Or are we content with what we have right now? And then if you want to really bad, you could spend $2 on a pair of custom arms, like for example the 501st or the Stormtrooper ones. I personally like the printed arms better. I don't really care about dual molded arms, so I'm gonna have to say I don't really want that to happen, because then we'll just be paying a higher premium for Star Wars sets, including unique elements. Dr. Xbox Live asks, what is your favorite franchise besides Star Wars? I gotta go with Harry Potter. Harry Potter was like an equal part of my childhood with Star Wars, and honestly, if I take all the Harry Potter movies and all the Star Wars movies together, I think Harry Potter probably has the more coherent story, if I'm being entirely honest, which might be a little bit of a surprise. Of course, Star Wars is like my favorite, but Harry Potter is definitely still up there. And the last question for today comes from Gabriel Brown. What are your opinions on the sequel trilogy? This is a hot topic. I will say the sequel trilogy and the prequels are sort of opposites. I feel like the prequels have a great story, but it's executed poorly, and the sequels don't have a good story, but they're executed really well, and that's why you can still kind of watch it. The prequels has a phenomenal story about the Chosen One, about him growing up, leaving his mother, suffering some of the most unfortunate things in the world, and going on these crusades around the galaxy. And we're supposed to see the development of his relationship with Padme, with Obi-Wan, and of course that doesn't happen because the movies pretty much consist of non-sequential events that really don't mean anything in terms of character development, especially with all the crappy dialogue. So whereas I think the prequels had a phenomenal story going for it but completely missed the ball, I think the sequels are the exact opposite. They really didn't have a story kind of going forward, especially with episode 9. Like, I was perfectly happy with the way episode 8 ended off, and Snoke being dead and Kylo being sort of the main villain, which I was totally okay with. But then they decided to bring back Palpatine pretty much out of thin air, which I was completely against. Now, ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I'll watch all 9 Star Wars movies, or all 11 if you want to include the standalone movies. I still enjoy every single one of them. Like, every single Star Wars movie I find enjoyment out of in one way or another. And there are obviously movies I'll enjoy more so than the other ones. But I think people do like to rag on the sequels, and I think there's a lot of contradictory, especially when it comes to criticizing sequels and maybe not criticizing the original trilogy or the prequels. But at the end of the day, guys, it's just Star Wars. It's something we all love, something we all like to see. Of course, having your own opinions and having like your own ideas of how you would have liked to end the series is totally respectable, and I totally understand that. But that's it for today's episode, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to have your question submitted next week and featured in the next week's episode, drop a like down below, comment your question down below, and of course subscribe if you guys haven't already. I will see you later. Take it easy. Peace.